Hey guys, it's November 1st, Tuesday, 2 days before my very first injection of testosterone. Nervous, excited, and I'm interested to see what the changes are gonna be like. I'm excited about my voice, I'm excited about the muscle and fat distribution, if any, and I'm excited for the future. I'm excited to be happy in this skin, in this body. Cheers. This is after my first injection of testosterone. I'm going for my second injection in about 2 hours. No changes yet. I don't feel like I don't think the first shot is like that monumental, so I don't think there's any changes yet. My skin is still fine, my voice is still perfectly fine, or well, as usual. And yeah, nothing really changed. So let's see what the second shot brings. I've got my third injection like just yesterday. I don't think I noticed any changes, but at the same time, I'm not sure because I got hit with like a wicked flu. So I don't even know if my voice, well, I know my voice is affected by my nose that is so clogged right now. I don't know if I noticed like a lot of changes whatsoever. I don't think there's any, but I still feel like I'm moving forward in life, and that's all that really matters. It's now the day before my 5th shot. Not many changes yet. I think I am starting to break out a bit. I'm not sure if it's because I'm close to my period, which should be like 10 to 7 days from now, which back then, every time like I was close to my period, I'd always break out, but usually like 1 or 2 pimples. This feels a teensy bit different, so maybe the hormones of testosterone are actually adding to it, or I'm starting to go through the puberty now. Generally, the 5th shot is kind of like the beginning landmark shot. After my 5th shot, I'm gonna get a blood test, which I'm not excited about. 6th, I think, shot yesterday. Still not a lot of noticeable changes, if at all. Physically, like to my face. I don't think my voice has changed at all. I'm not really sure if I'm getting a bit hairier. It's now March 8th. I kind of lost track of which shot I'm at, but I'm pretty sure it's maybe the 10th or 14th shot. I believe my voice has changed. It has gotten a bit lower. I'm breaking out like mad. Well, not like mad, but like definitely more pimples than I'm used to. Like definitely on the sides and on the nose and stuff. I don't think my appetite has changed, but I gained like 15 pounds. You kind of notice like after I work out, my arms especially, there's a bit more definition. Like there is a bit more, I don't know, it feels like there's more stuff there. Whereas back then, even in my best shape, well, not my best shape, but even when I was working out quite regularly, like to have this kind of form and definition without flexing was kind of difficult. So maybe some things are changing. I've been on testosterone for 5 months, and definitely my voice has gotten deeper. For most people who kind of know me, they think I'm sick. I'm just really tired, but I guess I'm gonna just kind of sound sick for the rest of my life. I'm kind of hoping, since I've only been on this for 5 months, that it will get deeper, but currently this is what it sounds like. I have pseudo control over it. I definitely cannot reach the high notes that I used to be able to. Like back then, before testosterone, I wasn't good at singing, but I could at least kind of like follow along. Whereas now, like I can't control anything related to like a mid-range, or it just turns into hissing air. So that's gonna be fun, and I hope that kind of like stabilizes, because singing is fun and it's nice to not suck at it. Puberty is wrecking my face. I think this is puberty, but I definitely, in the right lighting, yeah, you see like, oh man, so many pimples. When I was a teenager, I didn't get acne. I was one of the very few lucky ones, apparently, that didn't get any kind of acne. So this is very different for me, and I am taking like a lot of precautions. For the first time in my life, I'm using like cleansers, and I'm using moisturizer daily, and like all these other skincare stuff that my girlfriend is helping me to ease into. So that's fun. I'm learning a lot about things that I never cared for. I started working out
like a month into taking my testosterone injections, just because it wasn't because like it wasn't because working out is going to speed up anything kind of thing, but it just made me feel like I had some control over kind of like improving myself or becoming the person I always wanted to be. I'm getting hairier. Like my top lip is kind of like becomes evident after a bit, and like my stomach is kind of like weird. But it is definitely hairier than what I'm used to. But overall, I'm happy. I'm happier than what I know I would be if I wasn't on this, and I can just look forward to the next day. 6 months and a half since I've started testosterone. Started like November 3rd, and it is May 12th. I still got acne, but it's like, it's not calming down per se, but like it's not that bad. My voice has definitely deepened. I used to be a soprano, but then now, according to this app for like voice training, I'm a baritone, so that's really interesting. Now, 7 months on testosterone. There's nothing like really notable. I'm getting really hairy on my stomach. My legs are getting really hairy. The hair is starting to like go up my thighs. The most notable thing and the most interesting thing is that my face has changed, but I don't know what it is that changed. So like, back then in my old pictures, I thought I would look pretty boyish, especially in the pictures I thought I looked alright in. But I think waking up and seeing this face every morning, and then suddenly looking at my old pictures now, I definitely see myself, and I see that I was really girly looking back then, like really feminine looking, and it's just something weird. It's so interesting to think that like my brain is able to pick up these differences, but I can't put into words what exactly changed. Hey guys, it is October 31st, and tonight will be my 52nd shot, and officially I would have been on testosterone for 1 year. I almost can't believe it's already been a year already, but looking back, the one thing I regret is kind of not taking enough photos and videos, but at the same time I got really lazy and I kind of forgot like basically every week too. So here we are. For my 1 year transition video, I decided that maybe I'll do a video on why I started hormone replacement therapy. As a disclaimer, one, this story is my own. The reasons why I went on HRT might not be the same reason why another trans person has, so it might be different. And two, just because I have the capacity to talk about these things and just go be really open about everything I go through doesn't mean that another person that's going through the same thing is. So, you know, a little bit of respect. Don't go around asking people why they decided to transition and stuff like that, because not everyone likes being asked that question. So without further ado, let's start off with basically when I was young. I grew up always feeling a bit different. I couldn't put into words that I was born into the wrong body, but I always felt like I was born into the wrong body. I always felt, wow, I wish I was born a guy. But I just kind of chalk these feelings up to growing up and being human, you know, being a child, being a teenager, going through all that teenage angst and emo songs and stuff like that. I just thought this was what life was supposed to be. You're supposed to go through these emotions and feelings, find yourself, whatever, and this was just part of it, and this will pass. At some point I realized it wasn't super passing, but I also realized I like girls, and I like dressing up like a guy. So for a good chunk of my life, I chalked myself up to being just a lesbian tomboy. I didn't put too much emphasis in that label, because for that chunk of my time, I was very in the belief of being yourself, and I still believe in that. And I was just happy. I felt, for the first time, knowing kind of like what I was, I felt normal. And the best way I can give you guys an analogy of this whole idea of normal and kind of the journey I had to go through to realize that I wasn't really okay is using the analogy of getting a cold or a flu. when you are waking up day to day, you know, your normal healthy self, you wake up and that's kind of it. You know, you take a deep breath of air, you walk through the day, you get your coffee, stuff like that. Everything's perfectly fine. When you wake up with symptoms of a cold or flu, you wake up, you can't take a deep breath of air because one of your nostrils is plugged. You're walking to get coffee with like just mucus dripping down your face. It's gross. And you start to realize, wow, something that's just so small, you know, something that you don't think of. Now that has changed, the thing that you took for granted was that normalcy. The ability to breathe through both your nostrils. Suddenly, that is something you took for granted. And it's weird to think that way, but that's the best way I can describe what it was like for me. In that, for a good part of my life, I was just this tomboy, and I was perfectly fine. I was self-confident, I loved myself, everything was great. And then suddenly, things weren't. I started to metaphorically deal with these issues of a sore throat, a runny nose, stuff like that, and quite literally speaking, all these metaphors to these slight symptoms were just the rising up of gender dysphoria. So for those of you who I say is lucky enough to born into the body that you are in, not commenting on how fit you are, how healthy you are, how fast you can run or whatever, just when you boil down to yourself being a human being, being happy or just content in the body that you're born in, that kind of normalcy you feel is the kind of thing that we feel is taken for granted. Because I had to live basically feeling like something's wrong, and I knew it was my body. So fast forward to the summer of 2016. I was dealing with a lot of personal issues. There were just a lot of things happening, and the things that were happening pulled up a mirror in front of me that made me really look at myself. You know, I was 25. I wasn't going to change anymore. I wasn't going to grow taller. My voice isn't going to change. I'm not going to suddenly like get better at building muscle or whatever. Essentially, like, you know, going through your teenage years, you're like having a growth spurt and you're suddenly getting hair everywhere and whatever. I'm at 25, and I knew that in terms of my body composition and all that stuff, nothing was going to change, and nothing biological was going to, you know, get any better in my standards. With this kind of mirror in front of me, with all the personal issues that were going on, I started to see and realize that I wasn't happy in my body, and this feeling got progressively worse, and it became progressively truer that through all these years I just wasn't happy, but I didn't need to face it back then because I found something new, so I didn't have to think about it. I'd be out in public and I'd see just guys walking around. Didn't matter if they were like handsome or fit or fat or whatever. The fact that they were biologically male just made me wish I was them. I would just look at them and think to myself, wow, how great it must be to live without feeling like something about you is wrong. And all these feelings kind of crescendoed in one summer afternoon, and I was just sitting in my girlfriend's living room. I was kind of like zoning out. I had my laptop in front of me, Netflix going on TV. And the best way I can describe what it actually felt like was, imagine that inside you can call it your soul, or you can call it like just this core of who you are. Imagine that core is basically a ground, and this ground that a little version of you is standing on. This ground is made up of everything that's you, your morals, your values, the things you love and hate, and you know, all the scenarios that would test your personality, your convictions, your sense of humor, just everything. Everything that you are is this ground. It's almost like saying, you know, when you stand your ground, this is like you standing on your own ground, standing up for everything that you believe in and you represent. And the best way I can describe the feeling that I experienced in a second in that afternoon was, out of nowhere, I didn't have any particular thought in mind. Nothing showed up that made me think of something. It literally was just zoning out. But out of nowhere, my ground inside my being just completely shattered. Like, it was just, everything crumbled, everything fell down, and the little version of me that was standing on that ground just fell. And I could feel this feeling of falling. I essentially broke down in tears. I just started bawling my eyes out. And my girlfriend came up to check up on me, and she saw that I was obviously crying. And the first thing that I said to her was, babe, I don't want to die, but I just don't want to exist anymore. And basically my definition was, I didn't want to die, I didn't want to jump off a building or kill myself in any way, shape, or form like that. I just wanted to go, and I just popped right out of existence, and that was what I was feeling. Basically, I literally hit rock bottom, especially when the core of myself just shattered inside me, and I realized that I had nothing to lose. And at that point, even back then when I knew that transitioning was an option and stuff, during my younger years, I thought to myself, transitioning would be cool if I didn't have to stick a needle in myself every week. After this kind of like crumbling moment, I kind of realized that sticking myself with a needle every week was not the worst thing I was willing to do. After that, I realized I needed to do something. I had no other options, at least in my head. I tried to wait it out. I obviously lived through my teenage years loving myself, so I knew what it was to feel self-confident. I knew what it was to be happy in my own body, to love myself, to be unapologetic in sharing my selfies and everything. I knew I was not that at that moment whatsoever. I had nothing to lose, so I realized the logical and kind of the only option that I could see, aside from dying, was to go on hormone replacement therapy. So, coming out trans and coming out that I was going on this therapy to my parents was I was sitting at the dinner table just like live tweeting my experience. I was like, oh god. And I am really lucky that my parents are supportive at the very base of everything, that I am just happy. Obviously they're concerned about my health. They're concerned about any reactions or side effects of going on this and stuff. They're just literally worried about me as a human being for my health and my safety and stuff like that. They weren't angry. They didn't try to stop me. They just let me do my thing, and I promise all the time that I'm taking care of myself. I am lucky to have such an amazing support system. My friends that are going through the same thing, that want to go through the same thing, my friends that don't have to deal with any of the LGBTQA discourse or community but still support me in every way, shape, or form because they're just amazing human beings. I am lucky to have the support system that I have, and it's really unfortunate to think that there's a lot of people that don't. So, fast forward to now, October 31st, 2017. When I post this video will be the actual anniversary of my transitioning. I'm here today. I wake up every day happy. I wake up every day feeling like I'm moving forward. I look forward to changes. Even if there's no changes, I'm just kind of like, hey, look at me. There's very evident changes that people will realize. One of all, my voice. Second of all, my acne. I never had to deal with acne in high school, so this is definitely a new thing. I'm a pubic boy! Oh my god, the amount of hair. Hair. Oh, so much hair. I didn't believe that I could get hair on the back of my thigh. That's a thing. The funny thing is, even with my acne, which obviously, you know, no one's ever really happy about acne, but when I boil down to it, looking at my acne, and also another thing is I have always dealt with psoriasis. I dealt with psoriasis since I was 14. It's a skin condition. It's not contagious. It's like it's an autoimmune disease of some sort, kind of. Ever since going on testosterone, my psoriasis has kind of like spread and flared up. That's partially because of one, I'm going through a lot of stress, owning my own small business, my body's hormone like fluctuations, and basically going through a roller coaster of puberty. It's no reason that it flares up. When I boil down to it, when I see my own acne, when I have to deal with my psoriasis, I am still happy. Because all these are signs that I'm moving forward, that I'm in control of my own life finally. I'm happy being who I am, and this acne is just a part of me being happy. And the only thing I regret is that I didn't start this earlier. But I'm here with my little pube stash, my little chin fur that my girlfriend hates, my acne, the amount of hair on my body. I sit here before you today happy. I can confidently say that, and I appreciate every single day that I am. My shots don't bother me, although I did have one really bad freak out for my, like, I don't know, 15th shot or something. And it's these little things, like having an Adam's apple, having a deeper voice and stuff like that. These little things, a lot of people wouldn't even bat an eye about this. Some of these things they even hate. Some of these things they just don't care. They never thought much of it. And it's kind of remarkable to realize that it's these little things that can make me so happy and can make other people so happy. So, for everyone that was in my position a year ago, my best advice to you is don't bottle it up. You're going to come crashing down one way or another. There are tons and tons of resources out there, even if your own hometown, even if your own house is not supportive. If you have access to the internet, there are tons of people out there that are willing to talk about it, to help you through everything, to support you, because they know how important it is to get support. Going on therapy is not as easy as just walking into a doctor's office and kind of saying like, hey, I want to go on therapy, and they're just gonna be like, okay, here you go. You're gonna get interviewed by a nurse probably to kind of gauge like how you are psychologically, where your support system is at, if your family members and stuff, if your home situation is safe for you and everything. They're gonna go through basically like your entire life, not only asking you the reason why you want to go on therapy, but also just kind of gauging where your life is at as a whole. Don't be afraid to reach out. So with all that said, happy transversary to me. Here's some more changes and more exciting things, and hopefully everything that's going on with my face clears out, fingers crossed, within the year. See you guys next time. Hey guys,